Hi, I'm Angelo Kinicki, and on this video I'm going to take the opportunity to talk to you about how I use one of the great resources that McGraw Hill has. It's called a hot seat video. Now these hot seat videos are located on Connect, so they're easy for you to get to, and you can use these hot seat videos in two ways. What I'm going to illustrate is how I use them in the classroom, and I love using them, and I'll tell you before I even show you this one. I use about 5 of them, and when I show them, I can have discussions that go from anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes. It just depends. They're really great videos. The general idea behind the hot seats is they show an interaction between a manager and his employees and in various situations on various topics. The scenario that I have chosen is about listening skills. Now, one more use of the hot seat is you can also use hot seat videos as assignable and gradable things because they're on Connect. Now, I don't use them for that purpose, but they can. When we're doing this illustration, I will show you how you can use it in that way. But the way I use it is, let's say, here's the scenario. We're talking about communication today, and I'm going to use this video to highlight some issues around communication. Let me give you a little background on the scenario. The scenario is we have a senior account manager named Pilar. And Pilar got some feedback from a customer about a project that was just completed by a guy named Miguel. Now, Miguel is a creative designer. The project was a great success. Miguel is excited, but Pilar is bothered because the customer called complaining about Miguel's project management. Specifically, Miguel went over budget. And you know in these kind of things, when you go over budget, it isn't good. So what we're going to see in the video here is the conversation that begins between Pilar and Miguel. So I'm going to start the video, and what I like to do with these videos is I start them and then I stop them when I want to ask some questions to the students and do a little processing. So we'll start the video and then I'll stop it and I'll illustrate to you the kinds of questions that I would ask.
Pilar, hey, I just came down the street and I was stopped by 3 different people. We're a hit. We're a huge hit. I mean, I can't believe how beautiful it is. Right, absolutely.
Great,
I mean,
congratulations.
It looks right. It looks exactly, I couldn't even have imagined it.
Yeah, I saw it. It was great.
What do you want to see me about?
Okay, well, first of all, I wanted to congratulate you.
Oh, thanks.
I'm
Thank you
really
so much.
happy
I called my mom and dad.
with your
Everybody
work.
said
Now, what do you think of Pilar's approach of wanting to give negative constructive feedback, but starting out with, hey, it was great, it's wonderful, you're good? Is it a good way to start? Is there any potential problems with that? What would those problems be? How might you start differently? Those are the kinds of questions that I would ask. Now remember, your students have just read the chapter on communication. They've probably also read a chapter on performance management where we discuss feedback. There are pros and cons to starting a conversation that way. We can see from the video that Miguel's puffing. He's thinking he's pretty good here, right? Well, because she started with the positivity, that's what you're getting. Anyway, I would stop it there. I'd ask those questions, and your students would give some answers. Let's start the video again and see what happens in the conversation.
And I also want to talk to you a little bit how I think for us to organize ourselves a little bit better.
Did you see this?
Yes, I saw it. I loved it.
Of course you have.
Of course. You know, with the few campaigns that you've been working on, there was a tiny complaint from the client that you went over budget by quite a bit of money. Now, I know and that they weren't told in advance.
A tiny complaint? You went over the budget on a lot of money. Are you kidding me? What do you think about that? Would you call going over budget by a significant amount of money a tiny issue? What's the implications of her using the word tiny? Would you describe a budgetary overrun as a tiny issue? Maybe, maybe not. Again, I'd ask the students those questions, have some conversation, and I tell you what will happen is, if you have a diversity of your student body, they're going to have different opinions about whether that's good or bad. And then, if you want, you can link it to content you have in the book. So let's roll again and see what happens in this conversation.
It was 11 grand over budget.
That's nothing. You know that's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket to these
But they were
people.
upset about it. And you know that we have to
Oh, hold on.
cater a
I
little...
was buzzing. I just...
Yeah, okay.
I'm laughing because this reminds me of my students in class. They're on their phone like I can't see them, you know. So what would you do if you were giving feedback to somebody and they start answering their phone? Would you let that go on, or would you be directive and stop that? Different options, and this would be really a good place to stop it, because I would suspect that millennials would have a different view than someone in my age group about that type of behavior. Again, you can see when you use these videos what you want to look for, things that you find interesting or provocative that you would stop and have a conversation about. Students really get into it. Now if we go back to the video yet, just to show you, you can see at the bottom of the screen it comes up with some questions. Now, the way the videos are set up, they have these questions interspersed throughout the whole thing. Now, those are the questions that can be assignable and gradable. So if you want to use the hot seat video as a way to do an assignment, the students can watch this at home because they've purchased Connect. They can watch it, they can answer the questions, and there are right answers, by the way, and then that's how it becomes a gradable thing. So you can use it in that way. So let's watch one more segment of the video. By the way, before we do, where do you think this is going to go now? So Miguel's on his phone. He thinks this is no big deal. What's going to happen? And I would talk to the students and make projections. What do you think? Based on what you know about OB, make projections. And that leads always to good discussion. So let's watch just one more little clip and we'll wrap it up.
Oh, it's Scott and Abby.
Miguel, let's turn our cell phones off while we're in the meeting, if you don't mind.
Oh my God. No, I'm just kind of on cloud nine still because
I know.
I just can't believe it.
I know, but you're busy, I'm busy, so let's, I just wanted to specify to you that there are certain things that we maybe should be doing that maybe neither of us are doing, just to organize ourselves better, to avoid
we're being
this.
successful, though.
Of
I mean,
course.
we're doing great.
No, and you're right. Just listen to me for a second.
Have you seen the plastered walls? It's
No, and that's wonderful.
incredible.
The problem is that I want to avoid in the future going over budget without a client knowing about it. And I'm not saying that it's completely your fault. It's mine as well. I was not looking specifically as to how much money was being spent and how much was going over budget. I had no idea about it.
About what?
So again, you can see from the interaction, Miguel is doing a little externalizing. It's a success. And it's always an interesting conversation when you do cases, when you have a success, but yet there's some behavior that's not good. And the manager has to decide, what do I care more about? What I received the result or how I got there? So that's another good conversation you can have about this particular thing. I think you can notice that in this video, Pilar is not asking any questions, is she? Did she even ask, Miguel, why did you go over budget? What do you think is the impact of going over budget? And you can talk about the implications of when you're doing problem solving with an employee, that the manager should be doing more questioning rather than talking. In this particular scenario, Pilar is just saying what she wants to say without involving Miguel. And then I would ask the students, well, if she continues that way, what do you predict will be Miguel's attitude about the meeting when it's over? Probably not very well, because Pilar never asked him for his input. This is an example of how you use it. You can see, you could keep playing the video. They're roughly about 8 to 12 minutes long, and like I said, they can last 30 to 45 minutes. It just depends what you want to do with it. My students have loved them. I use them every term I teach OB, and I would encourage you to give them consideration both for in-class discussion as well as for assignments and gradable.